tell us about yourself and your business.
So my name is Rich. I'm the owner of Heart Punch Munitions. We are a small Kydex holster manufacturing company out in Las Vegas, Nevada, specifically North Las Vegas, portion of Vegas. And we've been rolling for 5 years this past January. So we've been in production for the last 5 years, and it's a blast. I absolutely love everything about it. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. I mean, turn something you love into your job. It's kind of like one of those unachievable things that some of us can't get to. But hey, I'm glad to hear it worked out for you, and I'm glad you're having a blast. Uh, Definitely keep doing it too, because we'll talk about my holster later. I love this thing.
Okay.
I did have another holster, but ever since putting this one on, it's like, we're gonna go with this one.
Well, I appreciate
It feels right, feels great. Get to it later. Get to
it.
it's a piece of art. It's
Uh,
artwork, man. I love it.
and that's what draw that's well, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to why I got into it and stuff like that, but that right there is it's artwork. If you look at the emails and everything that we send out, business cards, at the bottom it says Kydex artist, because making a holster is a work of art, whether you're one of the fortunate ones that are doing their stuff off of CNC and all the computer programming and all that stuff, or if you're just, foam pressing. It has your own signature to it, and that's another thing that I can talk about later on as far as signature of what I believe a signature is. But yeah, they're all works of art.
So, how did you get started? What inspired you to create Heart Punch Munitions?
Um, well, wasn't really looking for a holster for me per se. I mean, I get holsters from work, and I mean, I've been having gear for as long as I can remember. So it wasn't really like, I was in search for a holster for me. It was more of, I have a thing to always want to learn something. Like I fall down this rabbit hole of, ooh, cars. Let me figure out, what cars I want to work on, what cars I can build up and stuff like that. And then cars will turn into, anything. And I'll just fall down that rabbit hole, and I'll just figure out as much as I can. And I think this became something I was looking at. There was a guy that I still talk to this day, that I follow. His name's Tony from Alameda Custom Holsters, and he would make videos on how he would make holsters for his business. And I said, you know what? Let me see if I could try and get into it, and make this thing work. And so I got in, started making. I actually have the very first holster I ever made sitting right here on the table, which is funny. This was the first holster that I ever made. No clue. I had no clue it was left-handed, because I didn't understand the orientation of where to put the belt clip. Turns out it's left-handed. It's sanded enough so where it doesn't cut you, and it's no adjustable retention. It's for what it was at that time. So this is just hilarious that I had this sitting around on my way to do this podcast. I just grabbed it and brought it in. From there, once I made the first one, I said, okay, I can do this. I can make it. I can figure it out how to make it better. Fast forward, my brother's like, hey, I want a holster. Okay. Made him a holster. Fast forward, I had some people say, oh, somebody at my job will like 2 holsters. Okay, I'll make them 2 holsters. And from there, it just kind of just kept growing and growing and growing, to figure out how I can make my product better and better and better.
That's pretty cool, man. It's funny. It's like as soon as somebody finds out you can do something, hey, Rich, man, I need 10 holsters. Can you get them by the end of this week? And
Yeah.
Like,
Back then, I think I would have said yeah, because I was like eager, like, oh yeah, I can get that done. No way. Absolutely no way. I mean, I knew I could get it done, but I was still fumbling through the process and trying to figure out. Now, if somebody says, hey, Rich, I need 10 holsters, can you get them done, by the end of the week or next week? Yeah, no problem. No problem. So, yeah.
it comes to learning the process, man. Because
Absolutely, you got to learn the craft.
yeah, and I know that the funny thing is because I used to do a lot of artwork a long time ago myself, and my best friend is a carpenter. And I don't know what it is about if you do something for yourself or you're just like fooling around trying to create a piece of artwork just because there's no pressure. I mean, you're a little hard on yourself, but you're not as hard on yourself as you would be if you're giving something to somebody else because now you're like, God, I hope those angles are correct, or God, I hope this side isn't bigger than the other side. You start
Correct.
really nitpicking things.
Correct. And that's how I am with every holster I send out. And I think that's a good thing. It's not that I don't believe in my product to your point. It's not that we don't believe in our product. It's just you don't know what somebody else is going to say, right? You don't know, and the people don't know what time and effort you put into it, and stuff like that. So that kind of plays into that whole thing. So anybody that watches this, no, I 100% believe in the product. The way you were speaking about the product that you do, you believe in it. It's just when it leaves your shop, that's a whole different type of feeling. And I love that feeling actually, because when you get the report, you feel on cloud nine every single time. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, and so, but yeah, when you make something for yourself, you may not be as critical, but then when you make it for somebody else, you're like, oh yeah, this we'll see what happens. So that's how it was. Early stages, I used to foam press, and I don't know if not to say you don't know or whatever, but basically foam presses, you heat up the Kydex, you put a blue gun, or some people mock up real guns. I don't recommend that, but you put a blue ring dummy gun in there, fold the Kydex over, put it in a press with two pieces of foam, and it squishes the Kydex into the mold. Therefore, that's how you get your shell, as it forms around the gun that way. And it's funny you mentioned carpenter because my dad missed his calling. He should have been a carpenter, but he wasn't. He built everything that I could remember when we were growing up: bed, dressers, everything. But to his point, I can't draw a straight line. So I know I'm a disappointment in that aspect. I can't draw a straight line. I can't measure. I can't do anything. So for me to free form, you know, multiple holsters of the same type that go to, an individual, or now you get neighbors ordering holsters. So one holster is gonna have this and the other one's gonna have that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a beauty to that art, right? That they're a little bit different, but the public perceives that as quality control issues. Um,
Yeah.
right? Not they can't look at it as, oh, I got a one off or whatever. The beauty in the art, it's a quality control issue. He or she doesn't know what they're doing. And so I quickly made the jump over to figuring out how to make my holsters with CNC to prevent that, so that they all are the same when they leave the shop.
That makes sense. Especially seeing as how everybody's a critic nowadays, or as I like to say, everybody online is a professional. So it's
100%.
like you look at everybody and you'll see all these comments online and everything. Doesn't matter if you're a welder or like a firefighter, even the plumbing videos on YouTube, man. Everybody's like, well, a real plumber would have put down foam and then would have also made sure that a piece of cheese could go through the pipe with no problem. Like,
Right.
where are you getting this from?
Right.
But it's yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just, you're 100% right. And I'm just like, okay, are you a plumber? Do you own a plumbing business? Like, how many houses have you been contracted to plumb? And like, what is your resume before you jump on here and start talking about everybody's resume? But that's the problem with the internet. You can't, if you care enough, you can fact check somebody, right? But I don't
Mhm.
care enough to fact check anybody. So it just goes by the wayside for me.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's like you mainly want to look for the comments that actually seem like they may be credible
Right.
versus like all the negative comments. Because like for every positive comment, you got to go through at least 10. So whether it's like a video, for example, what I'm doing now is I have an interest in tactical games, so I'm going through videos about the tactical games. I'm going through different comments. I'm going through different creators. Some are kind of questionable. Others are like pretty legit. Some just want that dollar. So that's just the realm we happen to run into. I know,
Right.
for example, we both are on the what is it, the Black Gun Owners? Is it Black Gun Owners or Black Firearm Owners on Reddit?
Oh yeah, the black firearm owners or black gun owners or yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think it's Black Gun Owners, but nonetheless, it's like I know that I like seeing creators post their stuff on there. So it gives people more options as far as like what's out there versus, you might be more familiar with more of the, I guess you could say, brands that have already been there and like say stuff that's been there for a while. But the thing I don't like about that is, and nothing against them, but the thing I don't like about that is like it just creates like tunnel vision.
mm-hmm.
Like this is the only thing you can get. There's no differentiation between X, Y, and Z. It's just like you got to get a Glock, you got to get this holster, you got to get this magazine, and we're living in a society now, or rather, a two-way culture where people want to have more personalization behind what they're wearing and what they carry out, versus just the same old cut and dry standard of get X, Y, and Z, and you're good to go.
Right.
So keep posting, man. I mean, I know I'm tagged the work that you did recently, and I think you made a better post because mine only got 2 likes.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I think it was the picture. That picture that I created for your holster was like a gateway. Once I saw it, I was like, oh, so this is how everybody's creating these type of photos. Okay, well let me get better photography with my products. But um the speaking to what you're saying about the 2A community, um the 2A community is
yes,
very judgmental. Um and I think that's bad. I mean, of course it's bad, but I mean, I just can't think of another word for it. But it's horrible because we want to say we're open and we're all inclusive, and we want everybody to buy a firearm, we want everybody to carry, we want to support everybody. But the moment you know get a high point or whatever, and you want to show up and say, hey, I'm a supporter of 2A, here's my gun, and you want to post a picture of it, and you got your firearm, you got your watch, and your EDC dump. The moment it's a high point, somebody's gonna be like, man, you should just run around with a water gun versus that trash, or oh my goodness, I wouldn't trust my life to a high point or whatever. And it's kind of like, okay, but what if this is all that person can afford?
yeah,
What if literally this is all that person can afford, right? If you squeeze it and it goes bang, it's a firearm.
yep,
So I don't know what our problem is as far as a 2A culture. And I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. Is we have a tunnel vision. If you don't have a Glock, if you don't have an FN, if you don't have a SIG, if you don't have an H&K, you know, if or if you fall into a fanboy, if you're a CZ fanboy or whatever, if you're not one of those people, or the new 2011 that just dropped, or the new 2311 that just dropped, or the new 1911 with a tack rail that just dropped, if you're not buying that, if you're not running a staccato or an alien or whatever they're called, you have no clue what you're talking about as far as firearms. And I think that's terrible. I mean, how do we include everybody as a 2A community if we go after the people that's all they can afford?
yeah. I,
So,
I definitely agree with that.
and,
And I know I happen to I rip on high points. I'm not even gonna lie, but I do have that same mentality. It's like if that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. Um, in my case, I guess I also look at it like if you can afford better, why not go towards that versus like I guess it's a mentality of somebody going out buying a high point simply because of the fact that they want a gun.
Right.
Uh, or like somebody going out knowing the background of High Point, because let's be honest, they do make good rifles,
Hmm.
PCC. Um, but nonetheless, they go out, they buy a handgun just because they want to buy the handgun. End of the day, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that's their choice. That's nothing against them because they purchased that. But I guess there's like two spectrums of, at least in my opinion, there's two spectrums of purchasing firearms, maybe three, but nonetheless, it's the guns you have for fun, and then I really need to protect my family. I need to protect myself when I'm out, so on and so forth.
Right.
Would I purchase a high point for fun? Possibly. Would I purchase a high point for my own personal protection? Probably not. However,
Correct.
like you said, that person that all they can afford is a high point, if that's all they can afford to protect themselves, it is what it is. You can't knock them for that.
Yeah. If you have the means to buy something more expensive, then you should. If you
Mm,
have the means to drop, you know, 450 or 500 on a Gen 2, Gen 3 Glock, it's older, or a Glock clone, go get a dagger. Go get a PSA dagger. PSA is making firearms, they're spreading freedom, like they on their thing. I mean, go buy
yeah.
that. If you have the ability to spend a little bit more, right? If you have the ability, no, I would not sit here and say go buy a high point. But if you don't have the high point, let's say you live in a high crime area and you're like, yo, I need something, get a high point. And we as the 2A community should be open to them having a high point, and we should encourage them, hey, you got this now, stack away $20 a month until you can get some more funds and go buy one of the four named, firearms that we talked about when you're ready.
Right.
That's what we should be saying to that person. But we shouldn't say, man, you'd be better off with a stapler. Like, this is trash. We shouldn't be saying that, because now that person has, and you know how people take everything off the internet. And so now they have this whole thing of like, I tried to do good. I thought I was going to be accepted and I'm not, it'll push them further away from the 2A space. And that's not what we as a 2A community should want.
Yeah. But honestly, I think it's also the tribalism behind it too, because it's human nature to want to belong to a group that has similar thoughts of what they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Perfect example. I have one Glock and I have a Glock clone because I have the Ruger RXM.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is about the RXM. I like that better than the Glock I have. The Glock I have, I'm only taking out to the range like probably two times at best. It wasn't speaking to me. Now I
Mm-hmm.
started out with a Canic platform. My very first firearm was a Canic TP91 series, which is just basically a Canic TP9. It was affordable. It was cheap. It was like after state tax and all the other fun stuff they want to hit you with, it was probably touching mid 300s, whatever. But it's what I can afford, and it's what I the platform I'm used to. It's what I like. Uh,
Right.
I don't knock people for following Glock or following Sig. Um, if it's comfortable for you and it has functionality and you can find accessories that you need for it, that's what works out. Now, one of
Mm-hmm.
the downsides of Canic is it's hard to find accessories for. Glock is like you can bling it out, but
Right.
you know, all in all, I just if I'm comfortable with what I'm carrying, which the average firearm owner should be, then that's what matters, and you should find a tribe of people that have that same mentality.
Right.
Um, but again, it's just human nature, even in the 2A community, even in the
Yeah.
video game community. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah. It is. It is definitely. Uh, there is definitely a feeling behind wanting to belong. But remember, Koenig, when it first dropped, it was one of those brands that people were like, "Oh my goodness, I would not trust my life to it." And then
Yeah,
Terran Tactical gets a hold of it and makes the TTI. Now everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, this is one of the guns I need to have." And it's a wave thing. It's a monkey see, monkey do thing. Um, Remember, red dots wasn't a thing. A couple people cut their slides for optics, put them on. People were talking about how stupid that was. Now it's stupid if you run irons, you know.
Yeah,
So it's just one of those things.
yeah, you're right. I mean, look, we're probably gonna look up one day and there's gonna be like what's that movie, Fifth Element, where it's smart rounds or something. So there's the target, you shoot it once, and then everything else follows up dead on target.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody's figuring out how to make that now.
probably. As long as it's not the RIP rounds, I guess we'll be okay. And yeah, I'm forever gonna knock that company that makes the RIP rounds. I mean, granted, if if you need ammo, get actual quality ammo.
Mm-hmm.
I, I and I knocked the company that makes these because I have tried their what was the Telos rounds? It was
Mm-hmm.
nothing but stovepipe city. I mean, it didn't matter what I put it in. I was getting stovepipes on everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, but don't buy RIP rounds. Just don't.
Yeah, I never have. I just, hey, look, I just need a good functioning hollow point. That's it. Give me spare gold dot. I'm happy. I don't need any black talon or any. I'm fine. Just give me some gold dot spear, and hopefully, I never have to use it. Let's just run it that way.
That part right there. Only time you want to use them is if they get too old and you got to go to the range and fire off something. So hey,
Yep, that's it. That's it. Cycle the magazine.
mm-hmm. So what got you involved in the Second Amendment space?
My dad. My dad made sure all of his boys knew how to shoot. My dad made sure um, we knew how to handle firearms. We knew how to clean firearms. We knew not to touch firearms. Taught us all the firearm safety rules. My dad was the proponent for me to get into the 2A space, and then from there, um, yeah, it just grew. I mean, my daytime job, I'm a law enforcement officer, and then it just continues to grow after that.
That's what's up. Yeah, dude, I gotta ask you some because I ain't gonna have you back on the show, man, if you're willing to come back. But I'm gonna have to ask you some Leo questions the next time, if that's cool.
I mean, you know what? Yeah, we'll have to go through the questions first. To be honest,
Perfectly fine. Perfectly
we'll
fine.
have to go through the questions, man. I try, and when I'm not at work, I try not to be at work, especially with the climate and how everything's going. And according to the world, you can't find a good cop. So kind of just I love what I do. I love my job. I believe I make a difference when I'm doing my job. I go to work every day to make a difference. I go to work to come home every day to my kid. But it seems like even what I just said just now, somebody will turn into something overly disgusting and nasty about me being a cop. And so I keep that at work. And I come home and be me for Heart Punch Munitions for the family, and that's how I do it. But I'm more than happy to have open discussion about LEO stuff, and things like that. I have no problem talking about it. It's just, I need to know what's coming up.
I completely understand. I even I get it. I get it. Yeah, I ain't gonna put you in a situation like that.
Yeah, weird.
Um, it's gonna be kind of an interesting segue. What have you heard about the P320 drama lately?
So I have a P320, but I have it for holsters. It's never been shot.
Mm.
Reason why it's never been shot is I absolutely hate SIG triggers. Factory SIG triggers, I hate them, especially on that 320, that little sponge that you get on the wall. I absolutely hate them. I thought they would have figured that out with the 365 fuse when that came out. I got a partner that bought one of those. I shot it, same exact trigger, same exact sponge. I
Mm.
don't want anything to do with SIG. So I've never shot my 320. I use it for holsters. Um, but back to your question as far as the drama and stuff, if it is discharging on its own, they should just they need to fix it. I understand the pushback because that's a multi-billion-dollar thing that they're going to be paying out and recalls, and then you're going to have everybody and their mama coming out of the woodworks talking about they got PTSD and they need a check and all this stuff if they admit that their platform is discharging on its own, right? So I
Hmm.
get them. I'm pretty sure they have lawyers saying no matter what, you don't admit this or anything at all. Um, I think they just need to discontinue the platform and just mothball it. There's just too
Yeah,
much controversy behind it. You know,
yeah,
they came out with that strong statement. Half the 2A world was like, oh man, they're giving it to them. We're so happy about it. And the other half was like, but did you see this YouTube video? It went off. And so there's too much back and forth that I think they need to put production on hiatus until they can figure out what they need to change or rebrand it into something else. Take the fire control module and put it in something completely different. You know, the,
yeah,
to to allow them to lose some money on tooling because they got to make a whole new gun, but keep some money in revenue because it's the same gun, just rebranded. People are going to look and be like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you're saying that. That's distrustful or whatever." It's not. They're just rebranding the firearm. So there's some ways they could go, but they need to do something. Um, but they can't admit that it does go off. I'm not mad at them for that. They can't do that because then they're going to lose a crap ton of money just from all these people saying that it is and it's not, and it is and it's not. It's just too much money involved.
yeah. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. It makes sense. I also think it has to deal with the government contract that they got because they've pushed a lot of those out to the government, the
Oh yeah,
M17s and M18s. So it's like, you know, it's there. The people that protect us are carrying it. I mean, it's already affected the police officers. I believe it's probably affected a lot of military as well. And you are right; they're going to have to fix it. Ultimately, if they do rebrand it and they work out all the issues, okay, cool. Because I know Canik
yep,
had some issues with I think the MC9 platform, but they went back and they were fixing it, and I believe they did recalls and everything else. Um, which reminds me, Sig did do a kind of a covert recall whenever they said it was a 320 upgrade, which I
yeah,
think they were trying to fix the issue. I don't know, but the wording was off. Um, in this world, especially dealing with laws and everything else, wording is extremely important. You can't say
hmm
it's an upgrade whenever you know it's a fix. Just call it what it is.
Well, they followed what car manufacturers do because they don't do recalls. They do preemptive repairs or something like that. They're calling it. So it's not a recall. And they give you a certain amount of time to be able to get your car in to get it fixed now. And I know Lexus was doing that for a very long time. They had some issues with their GS line that was released or whatever. And instead of saying, "Oh, it's a recall, bring your car in, we'll fix it." No, it's we're gonna pre-fix this before it becomes a problem. And you have 6 months to bring your car to a dealership to get it done. After 6 months, you have to pay for the repair because they never got caught as a recall. So it's the same thing. It's just you got these look, these companies are billion-dollar companies. They're gonna find a way to protect their product, to protect their investment. And they got billion-dollar lawyer teams that all they do is comb through the laws and find a loophole and say, this is what you need to do to
Yeah,
fix this without accepting blame, guilt, and that's what they do. And that's, hey, if you're in that position to be able to do that, you're living good.
yeah, yeah. Well, ever since that social media post where it says today it ends, I think they've gotten rid of the social media manager. So I think it did end for them.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, when I saw that, I didn't have any emotion. You got to think about it too. It's affecting the fanboys, right?
Hmm.
It's affecting them. Me, who I have no stake in Sig, like I really don't care. I read it and I was like, oh. Okay. It's about time you finally said something. You've done little repairs here, you've done little that and that. It's about time you said something, but on to the next for me. It doesn't really matter. But those who carry it, love it, and defend it, yeah, that meant something to them. And those who just absolutely hate the platform, they're gonna attack everything about it that they possibly can.
True, true.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of platform and on the more positive information, this
There,
thing,
there it
dude,
is. The
I,
Artemis.
I love the Artemis and I love the design on it. I mean, especially with because it looks like a whole samurai. It reminds me of like a samurai battlefield,
Absolutely.
and I love samurai history. I love samurai philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I've got to get this print on a
Yeah.
holster.
Yeah.
And even the customization you do, I think is pretty cool because like if you were to take it, no matter what part you took off, whether it's like the clip or the claw or the actual holster itself, it has your logo on it
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere, which is
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah. Um, so the Artemis holster is my inside the waistband light bearing holster. That print 1882, that's exactly it. It is a samurai battle that is set back in that time period. I thought it was, I thought it was a beautiful picture. So made it into a print to put on the holster. I can't take credit for that. It is a free image, so I'm not copyrighting anybody. But um,
Mm.
I saw it and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it and put that on some decks and get a holster made out of it. So that came out very well. It's a funny thing when you do holsters that are custom like that. Um, because they're up top where your optic would be, there's a lot more battle that's up there too. There's more battle up there that falls down below, and you got to kind of plan out where you want this story to go on this holster. And so up top there's a tower, and people are shooting arrows down. And so
Oh,
yeah, so I figured, hey, what part of this story of this or larger picture that I want to tell on this holster? And so I just was like, you know what? The holster, firearms are used on the ground. Let's go with the ground war portion. And so I made the holster the ground war portion. So you got the red and the blue versus fighting each other on that. So I love holsters that customers allow to tell a story, and that definitely tells a story.
it does, especially this part right here.
Yeah,
Because I mean, there's a building. You see, like I said, you see all the ground warfare going on,
yeah,
but it is like it is a wonderful piece of art. I love this thing. I've only had it for a while now, and I just love it. It's definitely my favorite holster.
man, that means a lot to me. I mean, it really does. It's a journey to get to where the business is now, and for somebody to tell me that they love the product, it means a lot, man. It means a lot. And yeah, the logo's laser engraved on there. You have a lot of people that like to take shortcuts. They'll buy everybody else's holster, take off the clips, put on their own clips, and then ship them off as their own. So it's laser engraved on there, so I know it's mine. Also, I designed that holster the way it's formed. I designed it, so whether my logo's on there or not, I'll be able to look at it and be like, yeah, no, that's the Artemis design. Because the holsters I make are designed from the ground up. So they start out with scans of real life firearms,
Hmm.
and then from there I do my computer work, my CNC work. I make my molds, make all the tooling for it, and then I design the tool paths of how the holster is going to be cut and how it's going to look. So this isn't what we call off the shelf holsters. There's nothing
Hmm.
wrong to that. If anybody that's a holster maker happens to watch this, I'm not talking about you. But there's companies called like Pale Horse Concealment where you can buy their CNC molds of the gun. You can get it optics ready, or you can get it just the firearm, or you can get it with your favorite light. or whichever light you want to support. They have molds made. You order them, you get them in. It comes with what's called a trim jig, which is the shape of the holster. It comes with that, or you can order that as well. Slap some Kydex on top of it, vacuum it down, cut out his pattern of holster, fold it, ship it out with some screws, and you're good to go. So there are kits out there that are, you know, get ready, set, go holsters that you can make. The thing that I had a problem with going that route was, for one, it didn't allow me to learn. I wanted to take this as, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to take this as an avenue of something that, you know, I can learn how to do. It doesn't allow me to learn because somebody already has it done for me. So I didn't want to go that route. Secondly, it makes a cookie cutter holster. It does. You can go online and you can look at all these other garage holster companies that are up, and I can tell you exactly which molds they're using. I can just look and be like, that's a Pale Horse Concealment, or that's a Black Flag manufacturer, or, you know, that's, well, no, Henry Holsters doesn't sell their molds. But there's other mold companies that are out there. But you can look and say, I'm willing to bet that was formed off of a Pale Horse Concealment, because that holster looks identical to this holster. You know, and the way the blocking is, and by blocking I mean where the you know, slide lock is blocked off, where there's a channel for that, where there's a channel for a mag release. If you're running, let's see, only got polymer up here. Yeah, everything's polymer, but SIGs, you know, they got the takedown levers. Smith and Wessons have takedown levers and stuff like that. You have to create blocking for all of those, and so based off the blocking and based off of the way it forms around the mold, you could tell. And so I didn't want that. So I wanted to create my own, and that's what I did. And this is the other Artemis, or this is a Artemis holster actually. So they all follow the same, you know, open muzzle, suppressor height sights, bezel protection for the light, optics ready. So that's our holster. They all lock in place, secure, and they're ready to go.
So I'll be honest with you, I probably got to order maybe. I know for sure I'm probably going to order another Artemis, because I have a backstory on this, but this isn't my only elite combat executive. Okay. This one is actually called Reason. The other one is called Rhyme.
Rhyme.
Just came up with that name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about it for like the last couple of weeks, and it just occurred to me, and it just popped up and said Rhyme and Reason, Rhyme or Reason. Okay. Yeah. But now it's just stuck. So Reason is the end result of what happens with Rhyme, because Rhyme is like my test one. Mm-hmm. Looks a little bit more rugged. It doesn't have the EOTech on it. Which, to be honest with you, I prefer the Holocell that I've got versus putting the EOTech on it. I'll probably switch this out. Also, Rhyme has a Surefire 300 on it.
X300?
Yeah, X300. Mm-hmm. Which I may switch out and put on this one, but I don't know yet. But nonetheless, it's like I know I'm going to have to get another holster for it, because if anything, I'll probably take the other one to the range more often. Okay. And I do need to practice my draws. I don't want to do it too much on my actual carry one, because maybe I don't want to put a lot of wear and tear on it. I don't know, but again, like I said, there's a backstory behind it. Real quick, what happened was I ended up getting a promotion at work, and I wanted to upgrade my firearm to kind of match the promotion, or to celebrate promotion.
Absolutely.
So I found it online. I think it was sportsmanswarehouse.com. That's probably the one, because I always get it mixed up with the other one, but site is like white and green. So I think it's Sportsman's Warehouse. They have that elite executive on there, or elite combat executive on there for a decent price. I said, okay, cool, let me buy it. Then I went over to Gunbroker, which I should have stayed away from, and I just got curious. I typed in, the same thing. Saw auction ending soon. Placed a bid on it. Didn't think I was gonna win it.
It always happens that way at gun broker, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've went back to my phone and realized several suppressors that I've won, and I'm just like, I didn't really want to win it.
Yeah. So, he's sitting there like, okay, I guess I got to pay for it now. So that's how I got Rhyme and Reason.
There you go. Yeah, no, I mean, we talk often on Instagram. So before you order it, hit me up. You want another custom print or whatever, we'll talk about what you want. We'll put it together and we'll get it done. And so, hit me up before you even go to the website or whatever, DM me and
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
Well, there actually is another one I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of. I don't know if you can do a custom with the logo, my logo or not, but I want to get Canic Prime holster. Do you have any intention on making those in the future?
Um, yes, when I can't really say because I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
said, all of our holsters or my holsters are built off of the actual firearm, so I need the firearm.
Makes
Um,
sense.
so that means I have to buy the firearm. So whenever I get around to picking one up, then yeah, I will. But so the Canic brand, I'm not 100% well versed in. Is the MC9 Prime just the MC9, just with better internals?
I because I'm trying to remember if I don't think I've held an MC9. I've seen an MC9. To me, it kind of reminds me of the Elite SC that had a long time ago. Um, I do know it is the same line as the MC9 family. I would assume that it is just more aggressive internals and um, all the issues worked out, a little bit more aggressive stippling, um,
Mm-hmm.
slide cut, and so on and so forth. Um, but don't quote me on that. I
Yeah,
think there's a website you can go to compare stuff. I'll send it to you. Last time I checked, I don't think they had the Prime on there,
like
but it
my gun.
literally,
Are you talking about
huh?
Gun Hero?
That's the one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, that's the website. I
No,
don't think
good.
I'm on there yet. But if it is in fact the MC line, then my current MC holsters will fit it. It's the same firearm just with better internals. We already have a holster for it. It's already supported.
There you go. Makes it real simple.
Yeah, but if it's not, and again, like you had messaged me a while back about if the Ruger clone, the Glock that they just released, what is it called?
Oh, the RX. Yeah.
Yeah, if that would fit, a Glock holster. We've seen it fit. I've seen other people show them in the Glock holsters. They fit. I have no doubts that it wouldn't holster. But like I told you, I always recommend getting a holster built for the firearm that you have. That way, there's no issues down the line. It's cool when it works, right? Because then now you can
Yeah.
have a holster for two different platforms. But so it's cool if the D9 follows that same line, it'll work. But I just like to have my hands on it first before I 100% say, yeah, it's good to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely makes sense. So you did say you were going to mention something as far as like your signature on the holsters, like when we first started talking.
Yeah, yeah. So what I meant by signature is when you're foam pressing and when you have to block out everything, the slide lock, the mag release, the retention point for the light. When you have to block all these out, you can figure out a way how you want your holster to look, right? So you have your firearm or the blue gun, and you're saying, okay, well, I want because it's popsicle sticks, right? Or some people use aluminum blocking, but the old school people use popsicle sticks, right? So it's like I want this to be a sharp point, or if I want this to come down in the L form, or I want this to just be rounded because I really don't care and I just want round popsicle sticks on everything, right?
Mhm.
That is your signature of how you make your holster look.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what I wanted to be able to do with mine is I wanted to be able to look at it and say, yeah, I remember creating that blocking. Like I remember drawing that blocking out on my computer. I remember that. And that's definitely mine. I remember, coming up and having this portion of the holster recessed and these are signatures. These are things that I created in my holster that I know are 100% mine. When you get to the ready to build cookie cutter stuff, there's no signature. It Everybody's press is the same. And so you may not buy the trim jig and you may cut your holster to whatever design you want, but those impressions are going to be the same as everybody else's, no matter what you do, is because that's the mold you're backing in. So that's what I mean by signatures is how can you make your holster look completely different from everybody else's? Um, and it's based on how you do your blocking, and then from there how you form your holster. That's how you get your signature out. So that's what I was meaning by signatures. You can tell the people that are foam pressing just based off of the definition and whatnot and how they did it, um, versus cookie cutter versus people that are CNC in their own molds, designing everything and pressing them. That's their signature. You can tell it all when you really look into it. Like I sleep, eat, and breathe Kydex and holsters. Um, you know, I'm looking at everybody's artwork, not to the point to where so I have to change my stuff. That's not why I'm looking at it. I'm looking at
Mhm.
it because I enjoy looking at everybody's work. How did they do this? How did they do that? Oh, okay, that I understand how they did that now. That's cool. Um, so I live, sleep, eat, and breathe Kydex.
So, have you ever done holsters for anything outside of firearms, like say, for example, blades, or and I know you do uh, holsters for magazines too.
Yeah, so this is our Vaticus magazine carrier
Hmm.
right here. This one is for steel mag, so Smith & Wesson M&P, CZ, um, CZ mag, stuff like that. So yeah, we make mag carriers for AR mags and pistol mags. As far as blades, I do want to get into making knife sheaths. I just got to figure out that's a realm I'm not really versed in. So I need to
Hmm.
figure out which knives are popular, why they're popular, and I need to dive into that rabbit hole before I start, dedicating time and um, resources to testing out how to make the sheaves, how I want my sheaves to look. What materials is it going to take? How many screws or how many eyelets or what. It's a lot that I would have to do to jump into it. And I do plan on doing that, but I got to figure out which ones are the popular ones to be able to make the offset, if that makes any sense.
It does. It definitely makes sense. You don't want to buy because I think I asked you when you told me about the RXM
Mm-hmm.
and made a recommendation about buying the holster that was made for it. That makes sense because you don't want to take a knife that isn't so popular. Like, let's say, for example, CR Columbia River muzzle brake. If I say that, there might be a few people that know what it is. It's,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember right, it's a long Bowie knife that comes with its own sheath, so on and so forth. But it's not as well known as the latest line of knives they have, which is like the one of them is a CRKT Provoke, which I definitely recommend getting a sheath for because it's a kinetically deployed cram bit. So it folds up on itself, and you hit a portion of it, just tap it, a portion of it back there, and it deploys.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if it's just the naked knife itself, my fear is if I don't know, I'm walking to the store and I happen to bump into a display or something.
Hmm.
But I bump into it hard enough to where that knife deploys in my pocket. Yeah, yeah. See
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
it's possibly gonna be a bad day for you.
Yeah, it'll be a 320 simulator, which I'm not trying to do.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
with a knife. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
no,
So
no shade on Sig.
no, yeah, no shame on Sig. Uh, so that is a realm that I do want to go down and start making knife sheaths and stuff like that. I just, like I said, I got to spend time to figure out which ones are popular, which ones, um, and why would somebody buy it, right? So if the holster, I mean, if the knife comes with a knife sheath already, why would they buy another one?
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes with it, because it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Kydex. I see a lot of them coming with Kydex sheaths now. Some of them may still come with injection molded, but it kind of seems like that's going away. Like companies are going away from injection molded and they're just doing Kydex.
Mhm.
Um, why would they come over to Heart Punch Munitions and buy that? You know, so I would have to buy the product, see their knife sheet, see what um, density of decks it's made with, whether it's zero point zero 0.06 or zero point zero 0.08 or 0.93, what they're offering with it.
Mhm.
How can I make it better and so forth. So um, there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. It is something that I want to do, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Mhm. You ever think about making anything else like AR grips, foregrips, even firearm cases?
Yes. um, yes. There's a lot of projects and things that I look at and say, okay, we're pretty good in the holster aspect. I haven't mastered anything by any means. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to update, my process, make sure I keep lead times down, anything that I could get to make the holsters better and faster to get them out to people. I'm always looking at that. That's the company's biggest thing. But recently I started looking at how to make optic plates. How do we get in there and start making optic plates? Um, my brother has the Langdon Tactical 92 Elite, and I won't say he's the first one, but I will say he's the first one I saw, and for a very long time, um, he made an optic plate for it to run the the mailbox, the what you call it, the endpoint mailbox, the whichever one.
Yeah.
And he put two plates together in order to make it work. So he was just fiddling around his garage one day and was sanding and drimbling this and doing that and put two plates together and made a plate to actually put that optic on there and was running it for quite some time without any issues. Held zero, um, no issues at all. They've Langdon Tactiles since come out with their own plate for that, but during that time, that's we knew he was the only one that was doing that. So much that he'd be at gun ranges and people would be freaking out on how he did it. But as far as being able to implement something at that point in time, I wasn't ready on my end with CNC, 3D scanning, and all that stuff. I didn't have knowledge then. I was doing it, but I'm not to where I am now. So now I'm starting to look at, what materials do I need to be able to make test optic plates and all that stuff. So I'm dipping my toe in that over there. As far as grips, AR grips and stuff like that, not so much. I am playing with an idea of a bad lever. That's just something that I'm playing, with for one of my rifles, see how it works out. So that is active. So I am playing with that right now. That's active. Um, will it come to market? Who knows? Who knows? If it works, we'll see. And I do mean work. Not half the time. If it works, then
Yeah.
but so that's an active prototype that's going on right now. But yeah, so those are the two other things I'm venturing out to actually try and figure out. I'm looking at knife sheaths, um, nylon gear. I'm thinking about going to nylon, see how that works out. Got to learn sewing, all that stuff, because it's essentially a one man show over here. So I got a lot of things that I'm trying to play with, but not lose focus on what
Yeah.
I'm actually making. If that's a long winded answer, and if any of that makes sense.
Nah, I mean, it's very detailed. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I get it. It's like you can't, it's hard to be a jack of all trades because you want to do this, you're trying to get that under control, then you see something else and you're like, oh, I want to do that too. So now you're going back and forth. So I get it. I definitely get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I've what's the saying? Jack of all trades, master of none, or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and that's always been very pertinent with me. And so I don't chase the rabbit. So for the longest, this is all I did before I started looking at anything else, even knife sheaths, right? Like, so I did this, made sure I got my process down, made sure I know what I'm doing here. Made sure I got to the point to where there's nothing I need to drastically change, or there's no new machine I need to go get. Like, I got everything I need to be able to make this current product right here. And so I'm good here. Now I can look at the rabbit that's running across the field. Now I can look and say, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
maybe, or I have one of those. We're seeing how it works out. I can now move around in different spaces and look very briefly, but I can now move into other spaces and look.
That's how it should be. You don't have the foundation. Shouldn't be trying to stand on anything else, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. Georgia pollen. It's kicking in.
Yeah, no. Dry Vegas weather, baby.
Yeah, I went to SHOT Show. I kind of missed that weather,
Yeah.
man.
I saw you was out here, man. I saw you was out here. I saw it on Instagram. I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm not running down there. I was like, I'm not going in there with all that mess. I'm 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 a Vegas liver. I'm not going down there.
It was it was interesting. I definitely want to do it again.
Yeah.
But God, it just felt like I already had sleeping issues, right? And every day it just felt like Groundhog's Day. I'm waking up, all right, gotta go to the Venetian. Next day, Venetian. And
Mm.
I think I survived off of like breakfast burritos and like this little Mexican restaurant up the street. So
Yep. It's a grind, man. When
yeah,
you're there, grind, and it just depends on what you're going there for, right? People want to go there for the two-way celebrity culture that's going to be there, and they want to try and find everybody and take pictures. Some people go there so that they can find companies that posting on Instagram and get their swag and stuff like that. Other people are there to make deals, big deals with companies and stuff like that. So, um, excuse me, I just got to figure out why I'm there as a business, right? I got to figure it out, because at this point, I don't believe I'm big enough to be able to walk over to, Ross Martin and say, "Hey, I'd love to make holsters for your firearms. Send me a free firearm, and I can make holsters for it." They're going to look at me and be like, "Who's you?" Oh, this is
yeah,
who I am. This is, whatever. They're going to be like, "You're under 1,000 followers on Instagram, bro. We can't mess with you." And I have no desire to take pictures with the two-way celebrity. That's just not me also. So I got to kind of figure out, what my purpose there is. If I'm just there to see what's there, I can look at that on YouTube. You got a podcast, so that's completely different. You're there actually reporting what's going on. You're actually giving your viewers information. That's what you're there for. And also staking out some products you may want to buy, but you're there for duality. You got two reasons to be there. I got to figure out, why I'm there to be there. So that's why I haven't made the jump into SHOT Show yet. But I say it every year after SHOT Show, I'm gonna go next year. And then December rolls around, and I go, I ain't going this year. I'm gonna go next year. So it's February and December is in between that gap. I'm going to SHOT Show, but February, December, I ain't going to SHOT Show. So I got to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Because I met Rostic Arms up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he gave me some really good game. He said that most people go there, like you said, to meet the celebrities, to gather patches, to
Mm-hmm.
um, see some of the latest stuff that comes out, and then they get gassed out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was gassed out because I was trying to spread information about a company that invited me there, which I'm still thankful for it. It was Tardigrade Industries, but
Yeah.
um, I mean, dude, I was going from like floor one to floor two to like the main theater, and Jesus, I was gassed out. By day number four, all I could really do was roll in there, and day number four is almost like an enigma for me because it's hard to remember because I was so tired. But
Mm-hmm.
he was right. You got to go in there. You got to have a game plan. You have to know who you're going to go talk to, who you're going to hit, and then everything else is just like, let me go grab some patches for the kids, or it's chill.
Right.
Um, if I go in there next time, under my podcast, which I did get kind of dinged for being a guest and spreading information, or rather, I got dinged for being a guest and taking pictures because I didn't have a media badge. There was a security guard that was like, "You're not supposed to take pictures." He wasn't bad about it, but he's like,
Yeah.
he told me he saw the rig and he was asking if I was recording. I told him yeah, and he said, "Oh man, I'm sorry, you can't record stuff, you can't take pictures unless you have a media pass." So you live, you learn. That's what I'll do next year. But yeah, if you're gonna go, just have a plan. Even
Yeah.
if you don't think you got a shot, there's still brands out there that are trying to become a little bit more well known. Like
Yeah.
uh, Gerson is one of those. They had like really chill people. I didn't have any issue with them. If anything, they were really welcoming and they gave like a lot of good information. Um, Ross Martin was there. I think they're still trying to get their stuff, out there a little bit more, which they're a pretty big name right now. But nonetheless,
Right.
it's like they could always use help. They could always use a lot of aftermarket stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's another issue with certain firearm brands. Not knocking them, but it's like um, we'll take the Ruger RXM compared to the IWI Masada,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of my purchases recently. But nonetheless, I can probably find a lot more aftermarket stuff for the Ruger, be it holsters, slides, barrels, so on and so forth. I just replaced my barrel with I think it's an EFK Dragon barrel, only because anything that's Glock 19 Gen 3
Mm-hmm.
can somewhat crossover and be implemented on that RXM platform. Versus like me trying to find God knows what for an IWI Masada.
Right.
Unless it's the Slim, which I don't know what they got for that, but nonetheless, what you see is what you get.
Right.
So I think more aftermarket can also garner more, not influence, but more attention to a certain firearm brand. But then
100%.
again, I guess you also do have the ones that are like, no, we don't want, like kind of like I think it's Porsche or whatever, or Ferrari. They want their cars stock. They don't want you to do anything. They want you to leave it
Right.
alone. The minute that you do something to it, it voids the warranty or whatever else.
Right.
So maybe some brands are like that too, but nonetheless, you won't know till you go.
True. That that also comes back to another unfortunate point for me as a holster maker in this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the let's just take the IWI Masada, right?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta look at a firearm and I have to say, what is my ROI on this? What is my return of investment on this, right? Because
Mhm.
I got to purchase the firearm, then I got to spend the time, getting 3D scans of it. I got to spend the computer time, reverse engineering those scans into an actual model I can play with. Then I got to take that model and then turn that model into a mold. Then I have to use more material to create that mold, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not a pro. I'm very good now, but I'm not a pro. But let's just say I don't get it on the first time, then that's another set of materials I got to burn for it, right? And we haven't even gotten into, you know, testing to actually make a Kydex holster. And
Yep.
then, let's say the mold is spot on the first time. Cool. Then I make test holsters, burning up material for that. Cool. That's good and done. Tool paths are all set. All of that. Boom. Let's launch it. Hey, we'll make a holster for the IWI Masada. And it doesn't move. Right.
Yep.
So that's the unfortunate part about being in this, because earlier we talked about, you get what you can afford. Right. And that's why I support certain Olites. Now, everybody will sit here and say, oh, it's an IED on the front of your gun. It's a grenade. It's all this. It's all this. It's all this. Right. I've never had one blow up. Do I use them for personal carry? One. I will use the Olite Mini with my Glock 43X because I've made a rail key in order for that to fit. So I made an adapter for it to fit with the 43X. That's the only one I'll actually run. Everything else I do is TLR7 or TLR1. But I say that because not everybody can afford a TLR7, TLR1, a Surefire X300, or the Surefire XSM or whatever it is, the small one with the rechargeable battery. Not
Mhm.
everybody can go out and afford a $300 light. They can get a $150 light from Olight or whatever. So we do, have a line of holsters that support Olight. Um, but there's a return on that because there's people that have Olights, there's
Yep.
a small pocket of people that have um, the IWI. Are they looking at me to buy that holster? So that's the unfortunate thing. I will not make holsters for High Point. I know this is contrary to what I said at the beginning of, if that's what you can get, that's what you can get.
Yeah.
But as a business, if I make a holster for a High Point, who's going to buy?
Yeah.
Right?
That does that makes sense. And like you said, it's about the return of investment. If you and it's not, don't get me wrong, money is a vehicle that you definitely need. Actually, since we're gonna throw art in there, money is a medium that you definitely need in order to make something work. But
Correct.
you can always get money back. It's the time that you can't get back. So
True.
I can definitely understand that, and it does make sense. I don't think what you said contradicts what you were saying as far as high points, because it, it makes sense. If the high points aren't moving, then yeah, you may make holsters for, like, I don't know, let's say the 100, 200 people that may buy high points that month, but you would probably make a lot more money focusing on what's already been out there, which is like the 10,000, 50,000, however many people that have purchased block that month. So it
Right.
makes sense. The net is already cashed, so you can catch a lot more versus like waiting on that one line to have a bite on
Right. Right. And
it.
to, like you were saying, you have to have, in order to be a holster maker, you have to have um a lot of upfront cash too, because you got to buy the firearms, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, look at Staccato. They just dropped that one that takes Glock Max. I would love to make holsters for it, right?
Hmm.
And that means I got to turn around and drop 2,500 on that, and then you got to go against the companies that are influencers, right? The ones that these companies reach out to and say, "Hey, we got a new gun coming out in 6 months. We're going to send you the CAD files. We're going to send you everything we need. We're going to send you an actual firearm. Can you make holsters for it and have it ready for launch?" Yeah, 6 months. Yeah, it'll be good to go. They have those relationships, right? Those are
Yep.
the brands. As soon as Staccato drops this firearm, in 2 hours, who's posting? They already have a holster for it, and so they're on the lucky receiving side, that holster company, right? Because now everybody runs and goes buys this new Staccato, and then they're looking directly at this company that just released that they have a holster for it. My goodness, how did they do that? And then here we go, now they're cashing out. So by the time the smaller ones like myself, we get it, then we're looking for the pocket of people that may have just not liked what they were producing, or they just got it, or so now I'm looking for those pockets of people, which I absolutely love. They're my customers. They're great people. I best people I can possibly ask for, right? But that does affect ROI. So applying that to the people that have High Point, if they bought a High Point, they've already got a holster for it from somebody, in their neighborhood that's foam pressing that makes them. They all know where to go. When I jump out and say, "Hey, I make holsters for High Point," they're gonna be like, "Yeah, man, I already have," or I'm gonna come get yours, but I gotta get some more funds or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what the struggle is as a smaller holster maker, but it's growing. We're growing, and um, I have a thing where I'm in competition with nobody but myself. Every day I wake up to see if I can make my product better. I don't care about what anybody else is doing. But on that same token, I am a competitive person, and the bigger companies better watch out because we're coming.
That's what's up.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
no,
how it should be too.
yeah, no. I don't care what they're doing. I don't look at their products for that. I could care less. I'm gonna make what I make. I'm happy what I make. Customers are happy with what we're making. But we're going to continue to grow. We are going to reach that point where where firearm manufacturers will then send us a free firearm to make holsters for it for launch. So we've had a couple uh, people that reach out to us that make aftermarket grips and stuff. That said that when theirs launch, they want us to make the holsters for it, but unfortunately, none of those deals have come to fruition. And I look at it as, instead of looking at it as a negative, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they didn't choose us. They went with somebody else. I got to thank God for the opportunity that I was even on the radar. And so if I stay humble and focused that way and say, thank you, God, for the opportunity, they went over there with them, cool. That means more opportunity will come. I'll just say, hey, thank you for it. Give me another one. That wasn't, for some reason, God made sure that was not the deal for me. So he moved it to somebody else. And so I'm thankful for that. And let's just keep rolling.
Definitely, man. Yeah, because I think one of the issues that some people don't really see with that is like, or not issues, but like one of the things that most people don't see whenever God is trying to do something for you is like the dropping of the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Sometimes we take it for granted. It's like, oh, okay, cool, breadcrumbs. All right, I go down here for a minute. But then I know lately myself, I've been trying to pay a lot more attention to certain signs or certain things that are happening. I
Mm-hmm.
told myself, and I am going through this, that this is going to be the year that things are going to change, and I'm going to focus on making things work.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this podcast. I've started putting stuff out on video. I've already got several videos. I'm just going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
But I got to stay humble and pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to pay attention. If I'm not listening, I'm going to miss the opportunities, whether they come to fruition or not.
Right.
And all this it just changed my mindset ever since going to SHOT Show, believe it or not, because I saw, it was like I saw the goal of what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to go and partake in it, and it made me want to continue to move forward because
Right.
um, you don't really, I mean, unless you're like just flashing guns all over the place, or like you're covering pertinent news, like as far as like what's going on in the two-way space globally or politically. so on and so forth, you're not really going to get a lot of attention
Right.
unless you put the work in. And that's where I'm at now. I'm trying to put more work in so I can in turn turn around, put a lot more shine on companies that most people might not know about, or break the monotony of just that tunnel vision, like we were talking about earlier, to where people can have more options and see that they don't just have to stick with one thing. They
Yep.
can find something that fits their personality, or they can find something that's going to work for them, or whatever. So,
And man, just if I could offer any advice, just stay on it, man, because for me, it's like I said, this is year 5. Um, and this year has been amazing already since January. Um, it's been like holsters have been rolling. Like we have been rolling this year. Um, and so last year was good. The year before it was like, okay, I can see a wave. But this year we're rolling. So I say that just to say stay focused, man, because when you don't think it's coming, or when you get to the point where you're like, I'm just going to keep working, right? And when it comes, it comes. When you get to that space, right? Because we think we're like, okay, I'm just going to work, and then it comes. Then we get anxious. We're like, oh, well, I'm working, it's not coming, or whatever. But when you get solidified in that, I'm just going to work, and it'll come. Next thing you know, it'll be upon you, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? You know.
yeah,
And then at that point, you'll look up and be like, oh, I got you. You did that. I'm good. And then you'll realize you're ready for it. So, like now, we want it now. We think we're ready for it now. I got the keys. I know what I'm doing. He's sitting up there saying, "No, you're not ready yet. You got to
yeah,
sharpen this. You got to, you know, in the world of a podcast, you got to figure out, your segues and how to ask this question and how to do this and how, and not you specifically, but somebody may have a problem making their guests feel more comfortable. They got to work on it. And once they get all those ducks at least following each other in a row, then he'll say, okay, I'm gonna open this door for you. Now you're ready to go play. And that's what he did over here was, um, hey man, we're ready, we're sitting on it, we're ready, we're ready. No, you're gonna learn this, or there may be something with a holster that I may want to do, and for the life of me, in the AutoCAD software, I can't figure it out, and I'll be out at the park with my son or something, and then it'll just hit me, and I'll just go, oh crap! All right, well, when we get back to the house, I know how to do it now, and I'll put it together on the computer and spit it out, and the formula's unlocked. And
mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready. I was trying to implement that into my holsters before I had the support for it, or before I had the machine for it, or whatever. And so that's a long-winded answer. You can tell I'm a long-winded talker, but I'm just saying to you, man, stay focused and get in that space of, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm going to figure out my craft. I'm going to work more on my craft. I'm going to research these people, how they do my craft. And then before you know it, you'll look up, man, and you'll just have a litany of people that's already, scheduled to come on your show, man. And you'll just be like, oh, man, now I got to take time away from my daytime job to be able to film this podcast or whatever. And
yeah,
I got to work sick, you know what I mean, to
yeah.
make sure I get this appointment. That you'll be at that point soon.
I ain't even gonna lie, man. I told you, I was like, I woke up, I'm like, what time is it? Okay, it's
Yeah.
8 o'clock. If I subtract 3, that's gonna be his time. So I'm good. I'm good. Go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But you're right. I have noticed that there's been more companies reaching out to me, which um is very humbling. I definitely appreciate it. And if anything, that helps me put spotlights on them. Um, like I know I got an interview tomorrow with Bolo Defense. They do plate carriers. I got an interview with Kinesium. God, they have this brilliant technology where it's like you put this little device anywhere that you don't want to be disturbed, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
say for example, um, when my daughter was over here visiting me, right? I put all my stuff in the closet, made sure everything was locked up as far as firearms and everything. I even separated ammunition magazines from the firearms, so on and so forth. And I put that thing on the handle to where if that handle even moves a little bit, it shoots a text message to my phone. Hey, somebody's messing with your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. Call up my mom. Hey, what's my daughter doing? What's your grandchild doing? She shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
doing that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, so many great companies out there that I'm just happy that they're taking notice of me. And
Yeah.
you know, I'll tell you the same thing I tell them. Whatever I can do to help out, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So,
True. But flip that, and
mhm.
say, yeah, they're taking notice of me, but they're taking notice of me because I'm doing something right. And what am I doing right? And now I got to figure out what I'm doing right, and I got to figure out how to do that more, and I got to figure out how to do that better. And then, so flip that to that, because yeah, that is the difference. If I can give you a
Yeah.
little, hey, that right there is the difference. Is, yeah, you gave me the opportunity to come on your show, right?
Mhm.
And we're doing this podcast. So yes, you're helping highlight Hard Punch Munitions. Great. But what did Hard Punch Munitions see to be able to jump on your show, right? Because that's the clicker for you, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not gonna take everybody's podcast. I mean, I get hit up with people saying, "Oh man, let's jump on, let's do this," and okay, and that's why I asked you those questions that I did before we jumped on. Hey, it's a conversational. Is there a format? What's
Yeah.
the that? Because I've had people that's just like, oh no, we're gonna talk, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to talking to anybody, and I'm not too big and too good. That's not what I'm saying. But what are we gonna? Where are we going? Um,
Yeah.
and so, yes, when you were like, hey man, let's get on, I was like, yeah, yeah, let's get on, let's do it, because you and I've been talking, and I'm like, yeah, this brother, we got something. We can get on, and we can talk. So yeah, let's jump on. So you gotta, yeah. So flip that into that, man. What am I doing that these companies are seeing to be more open to speaking with me on my podcast, right?
Mhm.
So just a little bit of flip there. Always,
That
always
makes the,
reassurance. Always reassurance.
that makes a lot of sense. And then, dude, stop saying you're long winded. I look at it like this: if I talk to an artist slash entrepreneur slash business person slash corporation, take your pick, whatever title you'd like to use. If I talk to them and I ask a question and I get like yes, what have I learned? Has the question been answered?
Right.
Versus somebody who can break down that question and still stay on that topic of that answer and get the information out, that's a lot better than the previous of what I just said. So, dude, if you want to call it long winded, please keep staying long winded because it's the only way the game is going to get passed, you know. And I find that the best teachers are the people that can actually go into great detail as far as what they're talking about. So it doesn't matter if you're an established business person or businessman, businesswoman, whatever, or like the most common person off of the street. Everybody across the spectrum understands what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keep that. Definitely keep that.
Appreciate it.
And it makes a better conversation for a podcast because there's one podcast I did that was never released, and maybe there's a reason other than the fact that my audio didn't go through. So I was getting the answers to the questions that you couldn't hear,
Yeah.
but I was getting those short, curt, quick, straight to the point answers. So I'm like, so when it comes to let's say 9 millimeter versus 10 millimeter, which one do you think is more effective? Definitely the nine. Okay,
Why?
there you go.
Why do you believe in nine? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the big man upstairs is like, yeah, we're not gonna hear that. Get rid of it. Get rid of
Yep.
it.
Yep. Exactly.
mess it up.
Yep,
Dude,
absolutely.
I know I'm taking up a lot of your time. You got time for like one more topic or?
Yeah, no, let's go.
All right, cool. Because I was debating about whether we should talk about the judge in California that made a video or the militia that occurred up in Ohio. So I'll let you choose.
Well, um, here's where the podcast is going to get broken down. I don't watch the news, and I do that for a reason because there's nothing positive in the news. Um, Nothing. And if it is a positive story, they spend 2 minutes on it,
Mhm.
and then they're off to the next negative thing. So I have been very diligent, and people will be like, "Oh, that's naive. You don't know what's going on." No, because you really don't know what's going on anyway. They spin the story however they want to.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so you really don't know what's going on if you watch it or not. So I do not watch the news. So the video of the judge in California, I'll be honest, I have no clue. I have no clue
Mhm.
what you're talking about. The militia in Ohio, are you speaking of the black men that are business owners and school teachers and stuff like that, where they do neighborhood watch and patrols? Is that what you're speaking of, or
Well,
is that a different location?
I think that was a different location,
Oh,
and unfortunately, this one occurred due to, let's just say, there was some crazy protests that were from some interesting people that like World War II memorabilia. Um, they were actually on one of the bridges in Chicago, and they were protesting, if you will, and they got ran off. They got ran off by a group of black people.
is that that's the KKK people or
I
the
don't
white
even.
supremacist or whatever they were, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So they
yeah.
got ran off by like the black people ran them off the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day they had like a bunch of the young kids in the neighborhood. They were armed up. They had masks on, so on and so forth. So I guess the elders of that neighborhood said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So as an end result, they ended up forming a black militia for the neighborhood because it's already been shown that there's intent to spread that type of hatred. The last thing you want to do is be ignorant of it, and you got
Correct.
to protect your neighborhood. So
Correct.
yeah.
I think we as people, I think we are. It's easy to say we're in a troubled time, and that's the easy way out. I think we are in a time that we have never seen. Um, I think it's only going to unfortunately get worse before it gets better, of course.
Yep.
Um, but I think it could be slowed or the tables could be turned if we stop giving power to the things that people above us want to have the power given to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tell this story because what we're talking about is like a race relations thing. I tell the story about during COVID. Um, we were taking a flight during COVID, and flight restrictions had just barely lifted. We were taking a flight, and we were in TSA check in, and you had to have your mask on. And there was
Yep.
very little people in the airport, so I mean it was right through. But we're standing there at the section where you got to give them your ticket and your ID for TSA before you get to baggage or where they go through your bags and stuff like that and your scanner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a couple people behind me. We had beat the rush because there was probably about, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 people that filed in behind us, and they all had masks on. And at that point in time, I realized, I was like, yo, like everybody sees color. I don't care what nobody says. I hate that. I don't see color. You see color. It's just whether you judge the person based off the color or you judge them based off of the stereotypes associated with that color, which makes
Hmm.
you a bad person. Seeing color is not a bad thing. Seeing a white person say, yeah, there's a white person is not a bad thing. It's what you attach to that person because they are white. That's where we get into the problem, or what they attach to us because we are black, or what you attach to an Asian person, whatever. That's where it becomes, that's where the problem is. Everybody sees
Hmm.
color. I don't want to hear nobody say they don't see color. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Yep.
But I see all these people, and my response to myself internally is, yo, I don't see color. I don't see stereotypes. I don't see anything right now. I see everybody, you know, following mandates. Okay. Everybody's got the map.
Hmm.
But I don't see any differences in them. Okay. Um, and I was like, you know what? This would be the perfect time for our government to come out and help eradicate racism right now because everybody looks the same. I mean,
Hmm.
there was people that didn't want to wear a mask and that whole, whatever. I'm not talking about that, but
Yeah.
everybody looks the same. And at that point in time, 98% of the population was all on the same wavelength of we're locked down. I don't want to go to my parents' house because they're elders and I don't want to, carry this. And 98% of the people were still all on the same. There was a majority of the people that were on the same wavelength that there could have been a spin in, hey, this is the time to drop the BS of stereotypes. This is the time to drop the BS of, you know, um, hatred towards another person because of their skin color, or, you know, it was a time to do that. And I think it would have been a successful campaign, or at least it would have propelled us 5 years ahead of where we are now as far as relations with people, to the point to where this bridge incident would have been further put out on somebody's radar to even want to do.
Hmm.
Um, so when I see these things, it's unfortunate because I'm just like, dude, we're still here. Like we're still here, and um, I was just telling my son the other day, racism isn't, you're not born it, you're taught it. So a kid's not born racist; they're taught racism. So the people that was on their bridge, they were taught it too. And so, I mean, long way to answer. I don't like the way we're going. I would love to see everybody put all that BS behind. In regards to the neighborhoods forming a militia, hey, as a police officer, I am saying go ahead, because we are going to be minutes out to get there. We're going to be minutes out, right? Um, so the faster you can take care of yourself, whether it's with a high point, a Glock, or a 2311, take care of yourself. If you're forming a well-regulated militia, that's an amendment. That's in the Constitution. If you're doing neighborhood watch, hey, patrol your streets. Cool. Um, just if you need to take some sort of detention action or arresting action because you see something, let the police handle that. Do your citizen arrest or whatever, but you got to call in the police. There's got to be a relation there with that
Yeah.
group too,
Yeah.
in order for that to be successful. And I know people don't want that relationship, but and it just may be the police officer talking to me. There's a lot more good cops than what there is bad. We just get media sized as all bad. And if these militias or these well-regulated neighborhood watch groups, is how I would put myself to the department, right?
Hmm.
They can go form a relationship with them and say, hey, we're not doing anything. We're just exercising our constitutional right to carry. We're protecting our neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. we're no harm to you. We're no harm to anybody except for, these people that have already proven to us that they plan to do some type of harm to us. We're just defending ourselves from them. And yes, Mr. Police Commissioner, Police Chief, Sheriff, or whatever they got, yeah, we'll cooperate with you. Your officers come driving down the street. They have no worries from us. You know, we get something that we have to take care of and we call you guys in. Hey, we would love that relationship. And if you build those relationships, dude, your militia can run wild, I'm sure. But it's just by doing that, there could possibly be a stereotype of being with the police and whatever. Um, but I don't know if that answered your question from the original. I can't really answer the question because I don't follow the stories. I just know about that incident that happened, and then you're telling me they're forming a militia based off that incident. I think that's great because they should protect themselves. Um, but there's a lot more that comes into forming that and protecting yourself that hopefully they've thought of, that the OGs have put out there for them to do. Like you said, they said we're going to do this the right way. Hopefully, communicating with their outside agencies was part of that, because if not, then that regulated militia is going to be short lived.
Yeah. I think it is a good thing, but at the same time, what I don't like is the fact that a lot of people tend to get lax during, let's say, times whenever there's not really any issues going on, be it worldly or domestic issues, right? So the fact that they even had to create a militia as a as a reaction to what happened, to me that's kind of sad, because if they had one way before that happened, because I mean, just because there's peaceful times doesn't mean that you have to take rest. If anything, peaceful times are one of the best times to train and to stay prepared and to make sure that everything that you need in order to prevent anything like this from happening is already taken care of. So, like you said, if they didn't go through the right route as far as like making sure that the militia was hitting check boxes A, B, and C, then it could be short lived. It may be that they might get looked down upon or turned against. You
Right.
know, they may be compared to the next Black Panthers or what was the group here, NFAC or whatever.
Right.
It's if
But
we. Mhm.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's why we specifically have to reach out and form those relations, right? I mean, to speak to your point of if it would have had before, if they would have had it before, then maybe that could have been prevented or whatnot. Maybe not. But that just goes back to our culture not knowing what we can do and what we can own and what we can freely do, right? I mean, there's still people that don't believe that Black folks can own suppressors, right? I mean, it's just our culture. For the I had this conversation with ClickPop 2A. I think you know him. I had this
Yeah, I follow.
with him on a live not too long ago. Um, for the longest, we didn't have access to the information for
Mhm.
this, but that is now not the case. We have access to all the information that everybody else has access to. There's more and more people like you and that look like you and I that are doing quality gun training, firearms training and stuff like that. There's more people that look like you and I that are putting this out for free on the internet.
Mhm.
That if you only want to talk to somebody or relate to somebody that looks like you and I, it's available now. I don't recommend that. I say go learn from everybody. I don't care what skin tone they are. I don't care. But the information is available for us to go and get now. And so for us to still not be going to get that information, then that falls on us now. So that, they look, Other skin tones got militias,
You're right.
right?
And they've grouped together before in the past, you know.
They grouped together before in the past. So it's not like we're not seeing anything that hasn't already been done. And for us, it's not like the blueprint isn't already there. Unfortunately for us, with that blueprint, we just can't take it and apply it. We can take it, apply it, but then hey, so what if you got to let the local police department know? So what? So what? They didn't. Like I guess I'm at this space where I'm just like, if you need to do this in order to get this done, why not just get it done?
Yeah.
Because being mad about it is not. We've been mad at about it for 500 years. It ain't changed. So we're going to be mad another 500 years, or are we going to just let this police department know what we're doing so that we can move forward? Right? That's
Yeah.
our option.
Yeah, I can definitely see that point.
That's our option. Be mad for another 500 years that this group over here didn't need to let them know that they exist, but we do, or just let them know and we exist and we continue to move forward. And by letting them know we can exist, and now that other group that didn't have to let them know, they become the problem. Because now the police department goes, well, hey, they let us know. Why didn't you let us know?
Yeah, that's true. That's why I said they be looked at down upon, like when the Black Panthers were looked down upon. In fact, was looked down upon.
Right.
I dare even say that uh, NAGA, the National African American Gun Association, they may have the same problem. People may look down upon them, even though they may be accepted. Like you said earlier, there's always that the people in the 2A community that have that mindset of judgment. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
judge people without knowing them. They judge a group without knowing them, so on and so forth. Um, and I know in the case of Black society, our ancestors had to partake in the Second Amendment. They didn't have a choice. You
Right.
know, dealing with slavery, you get your slave papers, or you're a runaway slave who, one way or another, no matter what, you're seeking to get your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a good book and hopes and prayers that was the only thing that was keeping that freedom possible. It was firearms. It was the
Mm-hmm.
Second Amendment. It was planning. It was maintaining your group.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like the farther into more modern times that it became, we ended up skirting away from that while other groups continued to move forward on their progressive path. Uh, Perfect example, whenever was it, like, I think it was in the '90s or whatever, gangster rap was at an all time high. People were looking at it, and you would hear all sorts of uh, rhymes and lyrics about violence, guns, so on and so forth, because it was commercially produced to be pushed towards us. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
what we ended up consuming. But as a negative backlash to that, you had more anti-gun, in my opinion. You had more anti-gun in Black society because of that. You'd have like the OGs talking about you don't need a gun to be a man. Your pastor, other people would say you need to stay away from the gun because they automatically associated firearms to the streets. Even though you may have had some dads that they see something crazy going on, they got a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you're two-facing the situation. You're telling people to stay away from firearms, yet you're the only person who can own a firearm. And whenever you pass, who's going to carry the torch of protecting the family? Because they
Right.
don't know how to protect the family because you never told them. Like in your case, your father trained you,
Mm-hmm.
and your siblings, so on and so forth. Me, it I guess you could say I had a reactive situation. I had to protect myself after a bad divorce because I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm sitting here like, and it wasn't like there was no like police reports for violence. There was no doctor's reports. There was nothing crazy like that going on. But in my mind, my ex-wife had left the house and moved back in with her family. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what she's telling these people.
Yeah. Fair.
I might wake up one day and all of a sudden the windows being cracked, the doors being kicked in, and I can't protect myself.
Fair.
So I had to move on and do it. But
Right.
in a sense, I guess I'm looking at the whole Ohio militia as like, from my perspective too, because I waited until until there was a potential situation where something dangerous can happen. And long story short, Black society and firearms, even though we are catching up, we still have a long way to go.
Fair.
Um, and I guess that's why I look at it like that never really should have been a reaction. It should have been something that was already there. I
Hmm.
also know that there's a lot of people that are in firearms now that look at it like, I've got my stuff, I'm good.
Yes.
I get that, but you're only good up to a certain amount. So
Yeah. No. No. I sorry, my son just popped in.
no, you're good.
No. I agree with you, man. I mean, um, it is unfortunate that oftentimes our culture gets a firearm as reactive, where other cultures they get them handed down to them. Um, but that I think that now with the modern way of how we can receive information, I think that goes back to my point: is the information's available for us, um, for us to go get. That you mentioned that Reddit feed that we're both on. Um, I just saw a posting of some poor guy saying that he feels uncomfortable going into gun stores because he thinks that he's being looked at a certain way and whatnot. And I'm not discrediting him. That very well may be true.
Yeah.
But to just be the guy to speak about it, it very well just may be in his head.
True.
Because we don't believe we have the right to be in a gun store. We don't
Yeah.
believe that we can legally be in this gun store. We don't believe that we can legally, take that AK off the wall, buy it, and then walk into our house with an AK. We don't believe that we can do that stuff. Um, and the information's out there for us now. So I think those of us that are in this two-way space, um, we just got to keep posting and keep getting the information out there. I mean, there's the gentleman, I can't think of his name right now, but Solutionaries, that's all I can think of.
Box to Ray. Yeah.
Yeah, he does free seminars and stuff like that. We just got to keep moving this machine along. We got to keep doing our part. My part is, I make accessories, so you see me, I'm active in that black Reddit that I'm in. People got questions, I try and jump in and answer. Um, I do my best to try and help. I try and direct them. Now, yes, am I directing them to my product? Absolutely, because I can speak for it.
Yeah.
I can speak for it. I know it's good. I can speak for it. But what you also see is I don't tell them not to go anywhere else. That's the thing about me is I don't care if you buy my holster or not. I would prefer you to buy my holster, but what I ultimately want is for you to be a safe and responsible gun carrying citizen. If my holster doesn't work for you, or if you don't like the way it looks, if it's not aesthetically pleasing to you, go buy somebody else. That's okay, as long as it's a quality holster and as long as you carry your firearm in a proper manner. That's all I care. That's all I want for people, right? Um,
Yep.
Again, there's no two ways about it. I'd rather them carry my stuff. Because I can speak to it. I can speak to the quality. I can honestly say I do not own a holster of another Kydex manufacturer at all.
That makes sense.
So I can't speak to, and I did that for my own personal reasons as far as making holsters. I didn't want to try and follow anybody else's trend. So I wanted to develop my own thing. So I don't own anybody else's. That's why when you won that contest with the Eclipse, that's why I sent you that message. Hey, compare and contrast for me. Let me know. because I can't speak to anybody else's. I don't know because I don't carry anybody else's stuff. So yes, am I saying, hey, you have this Glock 19 with a TLR 7 on it. I make holsters for it. Here's the link. Go buy it. You know, oh, you make a CZ or you have a CZ P10C with a Surefire X300 on it. I make holsters for it. Here's the link. Go buy it. You know, because I can speak to the quality of my work. I can speak to how many hours it took for me to get to the point of launch. I can speak to all of that. I can speak about, you know, for me to launch a holster, it's between 900 and I'll say $3,000 for me to launch a holster because
Wow.
you got to look at the purpose of the firearm. You got to look at time. You got to look at material spent, you know, making sure that holster is good to go and launch. And so every single one takes me at the bottom, you know, 900 to 3K to be able to get a firearm holster launched. You know, I can speak to everything about my product. I can speak to being what, one of 3 black holster makers, if that. I don't know any. There's myself and Iron Gunworks or what's it or Black Ironworks or what his name is. I think he's on Instagram. And then there was one more guy, but I think he's fell off. There's nobody. There's absolutely nobody. So going back to representation and stuff like that, yeah, that's how I look at it. Like I am the black representation of a quality holster manufacturer for us, because there aren't any.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, I mean, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's doing it though.
Hey man, it's fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun because it's not keeping. You know, I'm not rolling a Bentley from it. You know, and I don't do it all for money. Um, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun, and it's absolutely something I enjoy doing.
Brother, keep up at it, man. I mean, I'm appreciative of it. I know there's a lot of other people out there that are appreciative of it too. Um, just keep at it, man. Now, I promise I keep at it on my side too.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back, man. I know you got to get going and everything because your son's probably like, "Hey, we got to eat." So,
He's looking. He's peeking around the corner. He's like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. I'm
hey, Rich, can you let everybody know where to find just your products and your socials and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is heartpunchmunitions.com. You go on there and that's where you place your order. There's contact information there if you see something, if you have a holster or I mean if you have a firearm set up and it's something that's not on our website, chances are we don't make it. You can send me a message and say, hey, what about this? But I've gotten away from, trying to pump out any and everything. If it's not on the website, it's not up and ready yet. It's not that it's not coming or possibly. Earlier you mentioned Gearson, right? Gearson, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
There won't be any of those on the website, right? I mean, ROI. I got to look at it from a business standpoint.
Right.
So heartpunchmunitions.com, our social media, our Instagram is heart_punch_munitions. Our YouTube page is Heart Punch Munitions. We're on Reddit, same business name. So we're on Reddit, YouTube, Instagram. Reach us through our website. And yeah, just reach out to us. Head over to the website, see what we have to offer, and pick up something.
No doubt, man. I'm seeing that video about the judge making a video on suppressors and everything. It's really informative. It was just his own personal video, but
Okay.
and if you want to hop back on and talk about that, more than welcome to, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll check out the video.
Yeah, but hey, I appreciate it once again, and definitely. I mean, because God, we started at what? Yeah, I think it's been about 2 hours.
We're 2 hours in, baby.
Really appreciate it, brother. definitely got to have you back again.
All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it as well.
Hey, take care. All right, be safe.
Have a good one. You too.
Thanks.
This the Black Powder Podcast, let's get explicit. We got the wisdom hitting targets with a marksman's precision. We're having fun in the booth, we're running gun for the truth. Every future black gun owner, we're spreading the news. We do illegal, we're moving regal and blessing the people from hopes for the culture.